Hello, my name is Nick Hartnett, and I'm the owner here at Pure Power Solar. And we are back with another informational video. Just trying to get your all's questions answered if you visit the website or you start doing research and you're thinking about talking to us. We want to provide some information for you on the front end to add some value. So, this video will be about the new solar tax credit and how it has changed. And in the past, the solar tax credit has expired a few times. Okay, so last year it was 26%. It was supposed to drop down to 22% this year, and then Congress passed a law that bumped the tax credit back up and extended it for a long time. So we'll talk about the details of that in this video. So now the tax credit is back up to the highest that it's ever been, which is 30%. And that is going to be 30% of the total cost of your solar system with all things considered. Whatever the total cost is, 30% of that is how much your tax credit would be. Not only did they bump it up to 30%, but they also extended it out for like another 9 years. So until 2032, you can get 30% off of your solar system in the form of a tax credit. That's great news for us. That's great news for homeowners that want to put some of their tax money to use. So we are very excited about that. A couple things to point out. First, we'll talk about what qualifies, what expenses qualify for the tax credit. Then we'll talk about what actually a tax credit is and how you can actually realize that, whether it's all up front or over time. Okay. So, um, when it comes to what you can include in the tax credit, the IRS has recently released some more guidelines, and put a little blurb to that right here, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. In the past, the everybody would say, "Oh, anything that's on the solar contract you can include." You can throw a new HVAC in there, and a whole new roof because you need that too, and all this stuff. It's actually not eligible for the solar tax credit. If there's something that you need to do that is specifically related to site prep, uh, other than a brand new roof over your entire house, then a lot of those expenses can be included. If there's roof repairs that need to be done underneath the solar array before the solar gets installed, that's perfectly reasonable to include in the tax credit. Things like you know removing vents, or rearranging some vents to make room for that. That's perfectly reasonable. Um, Even in some cases, even building a structure specifically for the solar um, could count as site prep as well. It would kind of be case by case and exactly what other purposes that structure is going to serve. But there is some expenses that can be included in the tax credit around the solar install. But there's a lot that can't, that historically, some people have tried to lump in there. So we'll include some links in this video to take you to what the most recent IRS guidelines on this tax credit are. The most recent guidelines were released in December of 2020, this past year. So we're going off that, and we want to make sure that we, operate the way that the IRS wants us to, right? So that's what we're going to do. Solar batteries are included in the tax credit. A phase two installation, a second time, maybe years down the road, you do half of the solar now and then maybe add some panels and batteries later. All of that is included in tax credit eligible expenses. So there's plenty of areas where you can max out your tax benefits when you're installing solar, but just you can't add everything in there. It might be easy to get away with, but it's not something that the IRS has told us that we should be doing. So we're following them. On another note, kind of separate from that, is I want to talk about what a tax credit is, okay, and how you can get it. And a tax credit is not an income deduction, okay? Income deduction just subtracts from your income for the year, and then that way you are taxed on less because you made less money. Okay, that would not be a dollar for dollar tax credit. That would lower your income, and then the percentage that you're taxed on is, tax on a lower amount. So you would save some money, but that is not what the solar tax credit is. It's not an income deduction. The solar tax credit is it's not a refundable tax credit either. Okay, there are certain tax credits that are refundable, which means you can get them back even if the government did not take that money from you. So a child tax credit is refundable. You know, if someone doesn't pay anything in taxes all year, they could still get money back with the refundable tax credit. But in this case, with a non-refundable tax credit, we got to make sure we're looking into, what are you paying in taxes? How long is it going to take you to get? Okay, this gets really important if you're financing a solar system because a lot of times the financing can be based around, in order to get the lowest payment, it can be based around when you're going to get that tax credit back. And you'll always have the option to plan on dumping that back into the loan and keeping a lower payment. So it's important for you to wrap your head around this. Hopefully this video helps. I'm going to give you a hypothetical situation to kind of give an example. And hopefully you can take that example and apply it to your situation and wrap your head around how this would work specifically for you. Okay, so some people pay taxes off of every paycheck, right? If you're a W-2 employee, then every time you get a paycheck, they're keeping some money and that's going towards your federal income tax withholdings. Okay, so some people do that. Some people pay quarterly. You know, if you're self-employed or you work for yourself, some people pay quarterly. And then it's not the best way to do it, but occasionally some people will just write a large check at the end of the year for all their taxes. So those are the three different ways that the government gets the money from you throughout the year. And then you file your taxes at the end of the year. And you might have a few kids. You might have some deductions that lower the tax that you actually should have paid. So oftentimes, even though you pay throughout the year, you'll get money back when you actually file your taxes. So let's say that someone has $8,000 in federal income tax withholdings for the calendar year. And then let's say they do their return and, like I said, maybe have some children or some deductions. And let's say they get a tax return of $3,000 back to them. Okay, that doesn't mean they didn't pay taxes that year, right? That means that they paid in $8,000 and they got back $3,000. So in that situation, there would still be $5,000 left that the government had taken from them throughout the year. So the solar tax credit would come off of that $5,000. Okay, so if someone had an $8,000 solar tax credit, then they would be able to get the remaining $5,000 in that year that the government had taken from them back, and then the other $3,000 for the solar tax credit would roll over to the following year, and then you would be able to recoup the rest of it the following year. If it's a situation where someone is paying a lot of taxes and you have a $8,000 solar tax credit and you end up paying $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 in taxes in a year, then when you file your taxes, you're getting that whole tax credit back in 1 year, one time. So it can be a 1 year thing if you pay enough taxes. And for some people, it might take 2 or 3 or multiple years, just depending on how much is left over that the government actually took from you throughout the year. So thanks again for clicking on this video, for watching it. If you want any information on a solar system, you can reach out to us on this number right here, and we will be happy to follow up with you and to get you some information on how it can work for your house. Again, thanks for visiting the site. Thanks for watching the video. Hopefully this added some value to your solar search, and we will see you on the next one. Have a good one.